Hi, sixth graders and sixth grade parents. This video today is about self-paced learning. I really wanted to give an explanation to parents as to how our classroom is going to be shifting in the next few months up until the end of the school year. The sixth graders have already received an explanation about what self-paced learning is, but it was very important to me that I bring the parents on board. I want all of you to understand what your students' day is going to be looking like during their science class from here on out. And it's probably pretty different from what you've experienced as a student and then even what your child has experienced as a student up to this point. So we call this self-paced learning. And this is the fourth year that I have done this in my classroom. I feel like it works really well. A lot of students, they grasp content at a very different pace. Some students are able to grasp the content very quickly with very little reinforcement, and so then they sit through class and activities and they're bored when we could be extending their knowledge, whereas other students need a little bit more time to process all of the new information and need more practice. And so I felt like self-paced learning was a very good way to remedy that problem that I was seeing in my classroom. So I'm going to go through here and kind of explain to you and show you some of the documents that your students will be working with on a daily basis, and to help get you involved, what you can ask them to see. So we will be doing a lot of work on the Chromebooks. For some of the activities, I do offer paper copies, which should be kept in your child's science binder as well, so you kind of know where all of these documents are. But what you see up on my screen right now is called the to-do list. And this is given to the student at the beginning of a new section. So you can see this is the most current to-do list. It's all on measuring matter. And the measurements that we're really focusing on are weight, mass, and volume. And so I number these for them. For the most part, the students will need to do these in order. And the activities that I have on the to-do list are activities that the students are very familiar. You're going to see things that mirror my typical classroom. The only difference is the students will be working on them at their own pace. So you can see that I have video notes up and taking notes, which the students have already been doing for homework. Now they'll simply do it during class time. They have video tutorials. They will still have practice with actually using the online tools and the real tools in the classroom. You can see that we have investigations still in here where students will still get a chance to work in small groups to come to some new understanding about our content. There's a lot of practice, and that's what the students get to kind of do at their own pace, which is nice. Now, the big thing that you'll notice in here too, you might be asking yourself what I'm doing while the students are all working independently. What I really like is this frees me up. Instead of always doing the whole group lecture where everybody's sitting and getting the same instruction as everyone else, we're really going to start breaking it down. I'll be working in small groups. So some days I'll come in and I will ask the students for their bell work, is there something that you would like a small group about? Or is there something that you would like a one-on-one conference with me about? If there's issues that I'm seeing kind of arise with pockets of students, I will pull them back into small group and work with them. So it's really giving your child that individualized attention that I think that they all want and what they all need. So you can see there are points in here. Number 7, they have checkpoints with me where they do have to schedule a conference and come back and explain to me what they're learning from the steps that they're doing on their to-do list. And then they just continue working. I try to chunk it. Each new kind of concept, they have to come back and conference with me about that concept. The biggest difference that I would say, other than kind of working on these activities at their own pace, is that you won't see a set quiz date for me anymore. So in the past, where in their agenda books you would see that there's a science quiz on January 25th. That's no longer going to happen. As the students work through this to-do list and they're conferencing with me, we will sit down and decide, okay, this is when I think that you're ready to quiz. So students will be taking quizzes on a variety of different days. One might take it January 25th, one might need a little bit more time and take it on the 28th, and one might be very, very far ahead and have everything mastered very quickly, and they might be ready to take their quiz on the 20th. So before they decide when they want to take that quiz, they do have to complete a Check Your Understanding on my Moodle page, which they've already been doing Check Your Understandings up to this point. And then they have to complete a self-assessment on the objectives, and I'll show you that here in a minute. And then they conference with me, and we will actually go through one-on-one and go through that, check their understanding, and look at their self-assessment so that they can see and make sure that they are really fully mastering all of those objectives before we go ahead and take a quiz on it. And because of this here, their quiz, in order to move on to the next to-do list, they must receive at least a 75% or higher on the quiz. So if they don't reach that 75%, it will be an automatic retake. I will still have them fill out the retake reflection form, and I'll have them bring it home for you to sign just so you're aware of what's going on in the classroom. However, they might take that retake before you have that signed. So just to be aware that the timeline for that might be a little bit different than how we were traditionally doing it the first half of the year. And then they will need to keep working until we hit that 75% mark. Or unless I feel like, you know, they really have mastered what they can, and developmentally maybe they're just not ready for the content yet. But that's really done on a one-on-one basis. And then of course, just as like it's always been in my classroom, if a student maybe gets an 80% on a quiz and they feel like they could do better, they're still more than welcome to retake that assessment as well. Just keeping in mind that the assessment will be different. It's not going to be exactly the same as the one that they took before. The other document that I wanted to show you that the students will be keeping in their science binder, this is a paper copy. This lists all of the objectives that they're responsible for each of their to-do lists. And so what's nice is it's very clear cut on the skills that they have to have mastered and what they're going to be seeing on their quiz and then eventually on their unit test. So they took a pre-assessment for me, which kind of helped me to gauge where they were at. So it might be nice for you to take a look and see where they're at with their pre-assessment. And what we've done is for 1-point questions, we've kind of switched to a different way of thinking. So if there's only 1 point and they got a 0, that just means that they haven't mastered that objective yet. If they had a 1, that means that they've mastered it. These are coming down a lot to very black and white questions like defining, labeling, identifying. That's where you're going to see the 1-point questions. For more of our explanation questions and application questions, those are going to be 3-point questions. And so you're going to have a range here of a 0 is a not yet, a 1 is a just starting, 2, they're almost there, and a 3, there's mastered. So they will be filling this out themselves as they go along. Pre-assessments we do together, I kind of help them so that they know which questions are going to which I can statements. Then this is where they're going to be self-assessing during class. So this is actually where they think that they're at. And then they'll take their Check Your Understanding, and we'll go through and mark this together. And then of course, after they take quiz, they'll go through and mark this again. And then we are testing, not only can they get these I can statements at the moment, but then when we come back for a full unit test, are they able to retain that knowledge? So you might see where they get out on a quiz, but then 3 weeks later when we go to take the unit test, they don't have that mastered. So this is definitely a very big, important piece of information. If you're wondering how your child's progressing in class, I would ask them to get this paper out and to go through it with you. So this is just a real quick and short overview. I know it can be overwhelming at first. It's sometimes difficult to kind of understand how things are working. And I told the students, give it a week and really get in and experience self-paced learning, and then see how you feel about it. Majority of my students absolutely love this type of classroom environment. So I'm very excited to get started with it the new year. And if you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. You can call me or you can email me, which would probably be easier, and I can answer any questions that you have. So thank you for taking time out of your busy day and watching.